Welcome back to another episode of STL Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. I'm joined by a very special guest today, Sarah Bravo. She's joining us, and she's going to share some insights as to what the keys to success in her real estate business have been, and we're so excited to learn from her. So, Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am too. So, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then what got you started in a career in real estate.
Oh, who I am and what got me started in real estate. Obviously, if you spend more than 2 minutes with me, you can quickly tell my name certainly matches my personality.
Bravo.
That's right. So when I talk to people, I'm like, yay, Sarah Bravo, yay. I scare people sometimes. But anyhow, I'd always wanted to be in sales. So this is really the only thing I've ever done. Right out of high school, I went into a direct sales and marketing position. I did that for 16 years. And then I relocated from LA, that's where I'm originally from, to Missouri, and was here for about a year, and then realized that I just wanted a new career and just take on a new endeavor. And it was real estate. So here I am 15 years later, still a realtor in Missouri.
Yeah. So what took you from LA to Missouri?
So realistically, it was a job transfer with my husband's company.
Okay.
I always tease people and say, well, clearly the weather.
You get all 4 seasons in one day?
In one day. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what brought us here. And being somebody who was like raised in Southern California, I was in my own little bubble, never even considered moving outside of Los Angeles, California. And so when we made the transition, it was like this whole new world. I mean, I traveled, but it was like, wow, there's no traffic, like ever. And now I complain about,
Manchester Road.
Yeah, the 10 minutes on Manchester. But I'm like, there's no traffic. And wow, the cost of living's incredible. And, everything is just a little bit slower and people are nice. So clearly I could sell real estate anywhere, but I've chosen to stay in, St. Louis just because this is now home. It's now home.
Right. Awesome. So when did you get your real estate license? And then what's the journey been like since then?
Oh boy. So 2009 is when I got into real estate.
Wow.
Yeah. Obviously, if anybody knows anything about 2009, I tease and I'm like, oh yeah, I got in at the peak of the bottom of the market. It sucked, but it was really odd because while it was tough and it was a grind and a struggle, to get business, I absolutely loved what I did. I loved sales anyways. So it was right in my wheelhouse. And I feel like now, fast forward to where the market is today, I've literally come full circle because when I started, there was 50 houses for every buyer. And fast forward now, there's 50 buyers for every house. So right. I should retire at this point, but
you've seen it all, right?
I've seen it all, full circle.
Yeah.
But I first started, clearly I wasn't from here, so I didn't have a big sphere of influence. I'd only been out here for 12 months, so I didn't have a solid footing with friends, at all, really.
How about in the area?
Or the area, exactly. Yeah. It was in my little bubble and that was it. So I just took the skill set that I had learned for 16 years and applied it to real estate. And when I talked to the managing broker and said, listen, I've been doing this now for 4.5, 5 months. I'm making no money. I need to eat. Tell me what to do. I just need a roadmap. And the broker said, call expireds, call FSBOs. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I mean, I'm so new in real estate. Right. And he says, well, here's a script and for sell by owners and expireds. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has been here the whole time, right at my fingertips. And all I have to do is call these people. He's like, that's it. I'm like, great. So that's in fact how I got started and stayed in real estate, because the first 4 years I perfected for sell by owners and did it every single day between, I guess it was 3 to 5, Monday through Friday, without fail. I prospected for sell by owners.
So you did the work.
I did the work, yes. And then on Fridays, if I was doing an open house for the weekend, I door knocked. And it was like, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm holding your neighbor's house open. We want to find you a great new neighbor. Here's the details. So yeah, that's what I did.
So would you say that was kind of the defining moment? Was that 6-month period whenever you got handed the for sale by owner script?
100% yes. When it then was just, here's a script, here are people you can call. That's all I needed. I just needed direction because I had been in sales and management for 16 years.
Yeah.
So the work part wasn't the problem. I just didn't know what to do. And as soon as somebody said, here you go, I'm like, okay, I got it, done. So that's how I got started in real estate.
That's great. So do you still call for sale by owners?
So I don't,
Just
fortunately.
give it as a reminiscing type of activity. You're like, you know what would be fun today is to just
be told no at least 70 times. Right. No, I'm just teasing. I don't. And here's one of the things where obviously if I was in a position that I, needed to drum up business, it's a really, really awesome space headwise to be in, to say, I know how to make business happen and I can make it happen. Where a lot of people right now are freaking out like, oh my God, the market's shifting. What am I going to do? And I'm like, this is great. I mean, the opportunity for sale by owners may come back or expireds may come back. Right. I've been in the trenches, so I'm not freaked out about a shifting market because I know what to do. No panic button, no reason. But do I call them now? No, because I did things in my mind correctly and laid the right foundation so that those people I met 15 years ago are still in my database. They still get an invite for a pie. They still get an invite for a pool party or whatever event. And I've stayed in contact with them, whether it be through social media, through client appreciation events. So when they have somebody that wants to buy or sell, I'm still top of mind because I didn't just, one and done or be so transactional that as soon as that deal was closed, they're out of my life. Yeah. I'm like, you're my new best friend.
I love it. So you mentioned you're not transactional, you're relational.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about how whether you have systems or events or there's different, touches that you make throughout the year for the people that are in your world. Like, what does that look like for you?
So obviously I've kind of got people in different brackets. One of the things I love to host and I love to entertain. And so because of that, there's a lot of times where I'll actually host a dinner party and I'll invite different clients to my home. I'll prepare the dinner for them. And I kind of see who might be a good fit as far as an introduction goes. So it keeps me in my wheelhouse of entertaining and cooking. Right. But at the same time, I'm also getting to know my clients a little bit more on a personal level. And I'm also introducing them to other people in the area that they may ordinarily not have connected with. And what's really funny is I've now had times where I was invited to a client's pool party or to a past client's child's birthday. And then I see my friend and then I'm like, what are you doing here? And they're like, oh, after we met, we've been hanging out. And then I'm kind of like sad because I'm like, wait, I didn't get the invite. It's really cool to see that. So that's a big part. And then I do, a pie event every Thanksgiving. I always tease, I'm like, are you even a realtor if you don't give pies out for Thanksgiving? Right. And then in October, this will be new this year, but we're doing a weenie roast and hayride in the park.
I love it.
So we're at, bring the family, bring the kids. And then I do a lot on like Facebook because I think it's more generational. So people that kind of fall in my wheelhouse for the last 15 years, we're still big Facebook users. And so I kind of use it as a CRM. So I know when their anniversary is. I know when their birthday is. I see their first day of school pictures of their children. I see when they get a new pet. I also see when the sad things happen. So I'm able to constantly stay, with them. I've had clients that I've just read the post. Somebody passed away. I don't post. I send them flowers instead. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So just stuff like that.
Yeah. Being intentional is what I'm.
Yeah, exactly. I've got one client who is having her third baby, and I think her son is now 6-ish, maybe 7. But I bought her an amazing little rocking chair thing. And she was like, oh my God, this is too much. And I'm like, no, you are wonderful. You refer so many people to me. This is what you really wanted. I wanted to give this to you. Anyway, she sent me a text the other day and said, I'm bringing it out for the third time. Definitely getting the use out of this one because she's now on our third baby.
And every time, as opposed to like a keychain with your logo on it or something, right?
Right.
Every time they use that, they're going to think of
Yeah, exactly. So, that's how I stay top of mind. People really do become part of, my life in the context. I'm not a stalker, but I do keep up with them. A little bit of a stalker, but I'm a good one.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I really like. I like people. I enjoy the connections, and it's always nice just to know you always have somebody to go have lunch with.
Yeah, for sure.
Or dinner.
Absolutely. So we talked about a lot of the wins, right? A lot of the good things, right? So what are some of the lessons learned over the years and your career in real estate?
So lessons learned that I really had to just reprogram my brain. I spent 16 years in direct sales and marketing. When I got into real estate, I was really hard on myself thinking I needed to have all the answers. If somebody asked me a question, where are the lot lines? I was supposed to know that. How old's the furnace? I'm supposed to know that. How old's the roof? I'm supposed to know that. And then at some point I realized this isn't my house. Why am I supposed to know all this stuff? I'm not a mind reader. So that was something that I had to really reprogram, that it's okay that I don't know everything. And 15 years later, I still don't know everything. And now I'm just more confident in being able to tell a client, yeah, I have no idea, but we're going to find out for you.
Yeah.
Whereas before I would try to fake it. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I also would be really hard on myself if I didn't get a win for my client. And a win is relative. I used to decide what the wins were, and the wins aren't always the highest price, the cheapest price, the best negotiated, inspection notice. If the client's happy, then that's the win.
Yes.
And so that took years, probably a decade, for me to not just beat myself up of, I probably could have gotten you more. I probably couldn't have, but it was just, my own lack of confidence. So now I recognize what's going to make you happy. If I can deliver that, we're all happy. And if I can do a little extra, then I'm just kind of like, oop, gold star for me. Just because I could. But those kind of things, which I see a lot of newer agents that are so hard on themselves because they're like, I don't know the answer. I don't know this. And I'm like,
that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. And work-life balance. That was the other really valuable lesson. Just making sure that it wasn't only about business all the time. Stop and smell the roses. Enjoy and, reap the rewards of your labor. It's okay to take a day off. I don't have to respond back to you in 10 seconds. Most people don't expect that in any business. I don't expect that from my doctor. I'm like, if my doctor calls me back in, 2 days, I'm like jumping up and down. So why would I have these false expectations of myself or have other people, just kind of set those expectations that aren't realistic? We're human.
So how do you set expectations from the beginning with clients as to how that works?
So I'm pretty readily available. I mean, I normally tell people I am available usually 7 days a week, Monday through Friday. But I do have my do not disturb coming on until 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, do not disturb is still on. I don't hear the pings. I don't hear the dings. That allows me to do my morning routine, get my mind right, and, just kind of get my day started off correctly. At night, my do not disturb goes off 8 o'clock. Now, if somebody, and I let them know, if I happen to be on my phone and you text me and it's an easy, here you go, you got lucky. Don't expect that to be a consistent, endeavor. But that's because after 8 o'clock, my brain's fried. You don't want to have me making contractual decisions with you or giving you advice after a full 12-hour day and then telling you what you should do or not do based on one thing or another. You want me to have a fresh mind. And realistically, I've probably started drinking by 8 o'clock. So you definitely don't want
Those texts get a little wild after 8 o'clock.
Right. I swear I'm literate. It's just I've been drinking. No, I tease. But that's where I do let them know, here's my availability. And realistically, nothing's going to get fixed after 8 o'clock at night anyway that I can take care of.
A few emergencies in real estate.
If your pipes blew up and you've got a leak in your basement, I am not the person to call to fix it.
Me. Right. Yeah.
Right. So just common sense there.
Gotcha.
Common sense.
Gotcha. So, we talked about lessons learned. What is something in your business right now that you're working on improving or something that you're looking to overcome?
Letting go.
Letting go. Okay.
Letting go. So at the present moment, I am looking at hiring. I've got somebody who helps me with my transactions, my file management work. And what I'm really looking for is that person now to step into a role of exclusively buyer's agent, and really letting go of those buyers that are repeat referrals, etc., that I know she's trained and she does an extremely great job, that she's going to take care of them just as good as I would. And I got to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. I got to let go. I got to, let the bird fly. Because I can't be the grinder all the time. Same thing with the transactions. I'm then getting a full-time TC. I got to trust that I train them correctly and let go and not micromanage.
Okay. So not micromanage. Letting go, bravo, is the new name, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Letting go, bravo.
Yes, just don't tell my clients that. They may get the wrong impression. I still want to work. But just allowing people to have their roles and allowing people to then have their sense of accomplishment instead of feeling like I have to be the overseer of everything to make sure it all gets done. I clearly want to be the overseer, but I got to trust and give a little bit of leeway that people actually do know what they're doing and have confidence.
Building a world big enough for other people to fit inside of it too.
Exactly.
Right? And accomplish what they want to accomplish. Like that's got to be super fulfilling.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there I am, whole new world.
That's awesome. So who is like if there's people watching this that are looking to buy, sell, or invest, like who is your ideal client? Who do you love working with? Maybe think back to some past clients that you're like, man, if I can have 20 more of John and Susie's, then.
So the group of people that I really, really connect with are transplants because I'm not from here originally. Now I've been here for a long time, but I've dealt with a lot of people that relocated from California, Illinois, Florida, New York, people that literally have never been to St. Louis and they got transferred with a job. And they're like, I've never even been here. Or the times that I did come, it was at the hotel, to the office, back to the hotel, back to the airport. I'm home. I have no idea about anything. And so there's perspective that I think I bring in that sounds kind of silly and dumb and just kind of like, duh. But as somebody that moved from Southern California, I understood the concept of winter. I just didn't actually understand the concept of winter. Like, it stays cold for months.
Yeah.
Like,
winter in April is what you mean.
No. Like, for months. Like, in my mind, like, California, it would get cold. I mean, Southern California, it might get down to like 50. You can put on a sweater and a jacket. But 4 or 5 days later, it's going to be warm again. So no big deal. December, you were out by the pool swimming. Why? Because it was warm. Mm-hmm. So when we moved out here and it was like November and it was 2.5, 3 weeks and it's like 40 degrees, 50 degrees, I'm going, honey, this is showing that it's going to be cold for a little while longer. When's it going to get warm again? And he's like, it's winter. And I'm like, oh, I know. But I mean, it's been 2 weeks. When's it going to get warm? May? Like, what? So that perspective of reminding people, it does snow here. Like, I'd never lived in a place that snowed. Yep. So yeah, when we're looking at this house, your driveway's like this, you're going to give thought, because if we have ice and snow, you're parking at the bottom. And if you just bought groceries and you bought for the next 5 days because you didn't know if you were going to be snowed in, you're going to be lugging those groceries up all the way from the street to your house. Right. And I speak from experience because nobody told me it snowed and that I'd have to park my car at the bottom of the hill. So when I went and bought groceries for 5 days, there I was lugging up bags of groceries through the snow, trying to get it into my fridge. But those people I really do connect with because I'm able to tell them, the common sense things about seasons, but also bring in that outsider's perspective of like, yeah, there is a difference between our suburban area, West County versus suburban area, St. Charles County versus Central West End. Some people say that's the suburbs and I'm like, not really, but okay. So I think just having that outsider's perspective with people that relocate is really a great type of buyer. And then they become my best friends. So now they automatically have a known person here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of my favorite quotes, which comes to mind whenever you say that, is the person you're most equipped to serve is the person you once were.
Exactly.
So
yeah. And that was me. I mean, I had an agent that I went over with her where I lived and what I was looking for. And when I moved out here, I was like at the edge of earth. I have a different perspective now, but Wildwood was the edge of earth 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was like, why would I be out here? Nobody wants to visit me. Like I would tell people I live in Wildwood and they were like, oh, why don't you come visit us? So those kind of things I'm able. So serving people who I once was. Yes.
How nice is it not having to answer the what high school did you go to question?
Fantastic.
Isn't that the best?
Doesn't matter.
Isn't the best?
Not from here.
Pigeonhole you, right? So it's
not from
I
here.
have that as well. So
there you go.
It's a luxury.
I did remember school when I first moved out here. I remembered a school, and then everybody laughed, and they're like, "No, but seriously." And I didn't get it until someone's like, "That's an all boys school," and then I was like, "Oh, okay, just kidding." Ha.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are there any questions that I haven't asked that I should have?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Okay. Any tips for agents that do a lot of business that maybe are at the level that you're at or aspiring to get to the level that you're at that would be helpful for them as they're learning and growing? And
so I think the number one key thing that helped me catapult from doing well to then jumping up into that next level was hiring a TC or an assistant. And my original transaction coordinator assistant was a catch-all. That person helped me with prospecting. That person helped me with my files. Mm-hmm. That person helped me door knock, get my open house signs out. They put my packets together. So, I mean, there were some weeks when I was calling for sell by owners and everything. I had like 5 or 6 listing appointments booked because there was 2 of us that were prospecting. And at that time, there were so many houses for sale because everybody was a short sale. But hiring an assistant to take that extra workload off of your plate allows you to then really hone in and focus on the money-making activities. So if you say, well, when do I make that step? I think I waited way too long, and a lot of people go, holy moly, but I was probably doing 45 to 50 transactions myself, handling all of it, plus the prospecting before I got an assistant. Mm-hmm. And then when I got an assistant, I was like, oh my God, what an idiot. I should have done this like year 2, but it was like year 4 before I did that. And now I could never even imagine doing this by myself.
So that is gold. I love that. How do you go about finding the right assistant? And once you've found them, how do you train them to make sure that they're providing as much leverage as possible for you? Because I think there's a lot of agents out there that are like, I should hire an assistant. Yeah. And maybe they really shouldn't, or maybe they should, but you have to lead with revenue. So you have to be closing enough business to afford the assistant.
Correct.
And then number 2 is, the bad hire is going to cost you.
Correct. Because you're teaching them, but you're still doing your own work. But now you're just paying somebody to watch you do your own work.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, and then after 90 days, you're looking for the next one, like you want to make sure that you make the right hire. So how do you go about doing that?
So I've been fortunate enough. And so for me, even when I was doing 40, I've got ADHD. So I can my superpower is definitely doing like 20 things at one time and making it look like no big deal. I didn't realize this for a long time. And then it was like, oh, I see. Okay. You're normal.
This is why I'm successful.
Right. This is why I'm successful. Exactly. Yeah. But most of the time, so for most of my career, the assistant that I had was usually part-time, Monday through Friday, 9 to 2. That's it. I paid them, an hourly rate. Some cases it was allowed to be flexible, where once they knew how to do the job, if there was opportunities to work from home, that was an option as well, but not all the time, because just coming in, talking to other people keeps those communication skills, sharp, and any new things, and you overhear things in the office. So I was a big proponent and still am of going in. But when I was doing 40 or so transactions, it was definitely time because I was so overwhelmed. It was just too much. That's all I was doing was paperwork, showings, listing appointments, and there was really not a lot of time to breathe. So once I hired an assistant, I was able to take my real work schedule from like 8 a.m. to 9 or 10 o'clock at night doing paperwork to really breaking it down to like Monday through Friday, like 10 a.m. to about 4, and then still showing property, but it wasn't like a grind. Like I don't have time to eat. I got some weekends back even.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. But my assistant, Monday through Friday, 9 to 2, I paid him an hourly rate. And obviously, depending on what your budget is going to dictate. But do understand, the cheaper you are, the less skilled somebody could be. So they may have a great personality. You're just going to have to spend more time and train them.
Yeah.
And the right hire is good because you just got to make sure they've got a personality that meshes with yours, because that's going to be somebody that you are relying on consistently and constantly. So if your brand is, you are, Mr. Mathematician and everything statistics and bar graphs and things of that nature, you got to find somebody that kind of thinks like you in that regard. Because if you hired me and that was your mindset, day 2, you'd be like, you need to go, because I would be like with a pink heart over, something, and it would be cute and bubbly. Yeah. So that's important. And training somebody, if you know what you're doing, you can teach and train somebody else how to do it. I've always taught and trained. I've never had anybody that was a licensed person until the last couple of years. But anybody that I had was just somebody that I showed exactly what to do, how I wanted it done. They didn't have real estate experience, so I didn't have to erase any bad habits or anything that they in my old GC job. And it was like, well, you're not there anymore. Right. So we never had to have that conversation. And so it's worked out extremely well in that context. I think that if you are doing 45 plus transactions, you can probably afford somebody better, that maybe even already is licensed. And again, in that context, you got to find the right person. A lot of times people want to find themselves. And it's like, well, if you found you, they wouldn't be your assistant. Right. You wouldn't be your own assistant because you're above that level. So you don't necessarily need to find you. You just need to find a you that in the version that wants to cheer you on and wants to see you do great, and they want to be along for the ride.
Yeah. Also, if you're the agent that's out there selling and going a million different directions and you have no organization and you're not good at paperwork, you should be looking for you.
That's exactly right.
And make you more organized. right.
So, I have ADHD, so I'm like, do you have ADHD? Because I just got to know.
Yeah. Just shoot to me straight.
We're the same brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a big deal. So when you're overwhelmed and you're getting burnt out, you need an assistant.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're just lazy, that's a whole different story.
Right. Right. One other thing that I think is really important for agents that are at your level that are closing a ton of transactions, a lot of volume, they're super busy, is the market has required a lot of agents the past few years. And I feel like a lot of agents are kind of at a point where they're feeling burnt out.
Yep.
And so I'm curious to get your perspective on maybe ways that you've kept this positive, bubbly energy about you. And you just, it seems like you're so positive with everything. Like how do you keep that energy and amidst what the market's doing, amidst all of the things, like what are some ways that you kind of keep that
positive,
that mojo going? So
I will tell you, for me, this is, everybody's kind of got a baseline, your baseline. Some people's baseline is right here. And in order to rev themselves up, they've got to have a routine to get the motivation. And then when they're done, they're like, I need to fill up because I am drained. My baseline is here. And I've always been like that, even as a child. Yeah. However, I'm still human. I'm still a person. Life still happens and shit happens.
Yeah.
And how do you keep that positive perspective when you find yourself in a position where you go, wow, I just got thrown for a loop in a major kind of way. Mm-hmm. I think I started reading a book recently, and as I was reading it, I'm like, this just captured everything that I think that I never am able to communicate with people. So your question actually is perfect timing.
Yes.
I forget who the author is, but it is Gain in the Gap or Gap in the Gain, something like that. I just started, I'm on like chapter 3, but it talked about how most people will look at where they're at based on their ideals or their end game goal, as opposed to from where they started from. So there's times where I maybe didn't hit that goal that I was shooting for. However, if I look where I started, I can then give myself that a girl pat on the back, because it's like, you know what, my first year in real estate, you know what, I didn't do unbelievably great. I didn't I didn't hit the home run out of the park, but I didn't know anybody when I moved here. I didn't have an SOI. I had to hit the ground, running with, strangers and FISBOs and door knock. And I did all those things and I sold this many houses. And now I can build my own confidence up based on where I started and where I'm at, not where I'm at versus where I'm trying to get to. And I think that makes a difference with just keeping myself positive. If I've got a listing that's taking time to sell, rather than focusing on that one listing that's sitting on the market right now, which if you're listing right now, you're going, what's going on? These houses are still happening. It's been 10 days, that's where I can look and go, oh my gosh, perspective, 10 days, 30 days. Back in 2009, I was getting listing agreements for 12 months. What? Because it might take a year to sell a house. Yeah. So being able to look at where you started from and where you are versus comparing where you're at to where you're trying to get to, I think is really the key to making sure that your attitude stays right, because you can always make progress, big or little. It's still farther along than where you started.
That's gold. That's gold. So that leads perfectly into my last question, which is, what's the most impactful book you've read? And you kind of, I don't know if you want to use the book you just talked about.
The book that I just read was really good, but I just finished another book that was, I don't read a lot of self-help books. I read a lot of just silly, rom-coms. Yep. But my
wife's in a big phase with that right now. So.
Okay, fair enough. But I would love to be like, oh, this is the book that I just read, because I literally just finished it. But it was all about letting go. And it was all about where I'm at in my mind, in the space of my mind of I'm ready to fight. Oh, it is who, not how.
Who, not how. Is that Simon Sinek?
Maybe.
Sounds right.
You know what? I don't have enough bandwidth to remember everything. I remembered who, not how, which really was awesome, because that book from start to finish teaches you to find the people that are good at the things that you want to have accomplished and done, rather than feeling like you have to do it all yourself, which is where I learned to let go. This book reinforced exactly where I'm at. If I had read that book, to be frank with you, 10 years ago, I would not have been ready for it. I would have been reading it and being like, who? I'm the who. I'm the how.
Right.
I'm all in one.
Right.
We're now with experience, with all of that, I'm like, no, that makes way more sense. I'm not doing my own taxes. Why? Because I've got a who that does that, and they know how, not me. I've got a financial planner. Why? I know how to make money and spend it. They know how to manage it.
Right.
So I'm looking for the who's, not the hows.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
I
know that everyone that watches and listens is gonna get a ton of value from it. So I really appreciate you taking your time.
Sounds perfect. I'm so glad for you having me, and I had a lot of fun. So this was awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you on the next episode.